what is up, guys? Sean here, and I want to talk about the $2,000 that you may be receiving every single month for the next 6 months. Now, we know the economy's been crazy, right? Ever since this pandemic has happened, it has just been like one thing after the other. But essentially, we just took this nosedive. What started off as like this, we'll see how it goes, turn to this whole thing of you have to stay home, you're not allowed to go out of your house. Businesses have had to shut down. A lot of people have lost their job. Many people have gotten reduced work hours. And now we're all in a state of financial panic because let's just face it, not many people are able to spend months at a time sitting in their home making no money and still be able to pay their bills. Same thing for businesses. Not many businesses are able to just kind of completely shut down, collecting zero revenue or just a very small percentage of the revenue that they normally collect and still stay afloat after multiple months of doing so. So in order to help ease the pain, in order to help try to keep our economy from just going in complete shambles, the government decided to inject a massive stimulus bill into the economy to try to ease businesses, individuals, and basically all kinds of people from completely going under. And this is known as the CARES Act. $2 trillion stimulus package that was injected into the economy not that long ago. Now, to give you some insight or some idea of how large the $2 trillion stimulus package is, the $2 trillion stimulus package was by far the largest stimulus package ever done into the economy. In fact, it was even 2 times larger than the 2009 financial crisis stimulus package that was injected. This was a massive bill, the largest of its kind. And in that $2 trillion, individuals were given about $603.7 billion, or around 30% of the $2 trillion. Big businesses were given $500 billion, or around 25%. Small businesses, $377 billion, around 19%. State and local government, $340 billion, or around 17%. Public services, $179 billion, or around 9%. That included that $1,200 one-time stimulus check that every American received who earned less than $75,000 a year. Now, if you earn between $75,000 and $99,000, you receive less than $1,200 on a sliding scale, going to $0, which was for anybody who made over $99,000 a year. Some other things that kind of came about from the stimulus package was the fact that people who traditionally are not eligible for unemployment, so like gig workers, freelancers, people of that nature who normally do not get the benefits of collecting unemployment, now were able to receive unemployment. They also had a 13-week extension for people, just kind of assuming that there may be some people who will need unemployment longer than the traditional amount that's set by state. And it also included a $600 a week federal check given to every single person who was eligible for unemployment. Now, there's a lot of controversy behind that, right? Because some people are actually making more money than they did before the actual pandemic. But regardless of what side you sit on that, we're just kind of stating what happened. They also launched the Payment Protection Program, which was aimed to help businesses kind of keep paying for their staff. That way, fewer people would hopefully be put on unemployment. Other things like the EIDL and other programs to help aim towards businesses to stay afloat during this time. Now, one of the things they probably did not consider was the sheer amount of volume of people who would be needing these particular things. And in fact, it was so great that a lot of these programs, like the Payment Protection Program, basically zeroed their accounts within just a few weeks. It was crazy. They had way more people apply for these things than I think they originally anticipated, because I think if they had known about it, they probably would have given a little more money. And because of that, and because of the constant pressure, people worried that like, hey, this $1,200 wasn't enough. I still have bills. I'm still not working. Businesses saying, hey, I didn't get any of the Payment Protection Program. I'm going to go under. There's been massive pressure on the state level, on the national level for different programs and more expansion. The Congress and the government have basically created a new phase for this CARES Act, and that's going to be phase 3.5. 3.5. Now, you're probably thinking 3.5. Why is it not just phase 4? Well, 3.5 is because it's not really anything new to it. It's more of just an expansion of probably what should have already happened in phase 3. And in phase 3.5, they're going to be giving hospitals an additional $75 billion. The Payment Protection Program is going to be getting an additional around $310 billion. EIDL an additional $60 billion. And they're going to give an additional $25 billion to testing. What about this $2,000 a month? Well, this is actually a new proposal that has been floating around recently that a lot of people are trying to push. Now, keep in mind, this has not been completely solidified yet. This is not something that's guaranteed. This is a proposal that still needs to get passed. But I want to talk about this really fast because in this proposal, the proposal asks that every single American or every single citizen or person gets $2,000 a month, as long as you're over 16 years old and you don't make any more than $130,000. Now, this will still apply to people who are in college. This will apply to people who are collecting disability, people who are collecting on unemployment. But it will be $2,000 a month guaranteed for 6 months. Now, this is a pretty hefty bill to give every single person over the age of 16 $2,000 who make less than $130,000. If you were to calculate that out, that comes out to around $448 billion a month. And because the proposal pushes for at least 6 months with the ability to extend it past, that first 6 months will cost $2.6 trillion. So that's an additional $2.6 trillion. That is more than the last stimulus that just passed for the $2 trillion, which, as I stated before, was twice as much as the next largest stimulus package ever put in. So this is pretty hefty, guys. $2.6 trillion. Now, will this get passed or not? I'm not sure. My guess is that there's probably going to be some sort of negotiation and settlement, because I really doubt that the government's going to give every single person $2,000. There's a lot of questions kind of imposed. Should everybody really get $2,000? What about people who are currently working, who still make just as much money as they did before? What about, people who are on this side? There's going to be all this back and forth. Should a 16-year-old get $2,000 a month who's in college and doesn't really have any bills because they live at home? So I know there's going to be a lot of back and forth with that. And obviously, we're talking about an insane amount of money here. And so my guess is that there's probably some sort of settlement for a little bit less if it does pass. I also think there's going to be a lot more strict regulation behind who gets it. I'm sure they're going to have some sort of proposal or thing in there where you do have to prove financial hardship or some sort of reason why you really absolutely need this extra $1,000, and just saying, hey, let's give everybody $1,000 or $2,000, whatever they settle on. But we shall see what happens. The other thing to take into consideration is, how does this affect the economy? Because while we really need to make sure we're injecting money and helping people the best that we can, we also take into consideration that, listen, while we want to give everybody as much money as possible, there are effects to these things. And so we have to be careful with how much money we give, who we give it to make sure that the people who really need it benefit, but we can't be over giving in certain areas as well, right? So with this amount of money being injected into the economy, something's going to have to give, and they're going to have to get that money back somehow. And my guess is probably going to be a massive raise in taxes over the next few years, or it's going to be some massive hyperinflation going on. But I want to kind of hear your comments on that. Comment below what you think about this $2,000 a month. Should we do it? Should we not? Who should get it? Who shouldn't? Very interested to hear what your thoughts are on that. But it is an interesting proposal.